Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life is celebrating its 30th year of ministry this year, 30 years of transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. New Life Live is dedicated to helping you in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to New Life Live. It is Steve Arterburn here with Dr. David Stoop and Dr. Jill Hubbard, and your phone calls. Really glad you're with us today. Hi, guys.
Hi, how you
Steve.
doing? Good to be with you.
Well, we've got Father's Day coming up, Dave, and you have written the book "Making Peace with Our Fathers," and I'm preaching Father's Day weekend, and I want to talk about that a little bit. And Jill, you've done the book "Forgiving Our Fathers and Mothers."
Mm-hmm.
That's
a good one for Father's Day as well.
So, guys, what's the key?
Well, in making peace with your father, one of the things, it has a twofold focus. One is what fathers do at each stage of our development, early childhood, elementary years, high school years, and adult. And then what to do if you didn't get those things from your father, which most of us don't because of the absence of fathers in our lives. And how to resolve that is a key part. And it comes out of my own experience of how I dealt with my absent father who was there but wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. So, Dave, I have to tell you, so I have a man that I had your book, and I'm like, okay, see this book? This book is for you. And he's like, really? Really? Do I have to? Like, yes, you have to.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's really scary. It's really scary. But you don't want to be stuck in that little boy place, right?
No, it's until you deal with your father issues, it's like you haven't finished growing up.
Right, yeah.
That's for men and women, but especially for men.
And even for grown adults, it is so hard to reach that point in your life where you say, you know what, my dad wasn't like other dads. And other guys got stuff I didn't get. Or my dad was even abused. It's hard for people to do that. And it's not, you talk about your experience, and so a lot of times we think, well, we need to do this. As men, we need to resolve. Hey, it's just as powerful with women, don't you think, Jill?
Absolutely. We all need to look back and consider the limitations of the people who raised us, right? The limitations of our parents and how to not have that limit us, right? Some of us get stuck still in this, like, you can't surpass a parent kind of mentality, right? Or if they don't, see me and validate me, I can't move on. And that just isn't true.
Or we make vows to be different, and vows don't work because
or we go the polar opposite. We're still reacting to them.
It's still a reaction. That's right.
So
well, the best thing that you can ever do if you had a crummy parent is become something that they could have never helped you become, and it does honor them without honoring their dishonorable parts.
Right.
So everybody wins, especially you. If you have never really dealt with your father, it's time. Maybe that's why you're listening right now. A lot of things that we have that are great books around fathers. One of the great things you could do: get Forgiving Our Fathers and Mothers, get Making Peace with Your Father. Every Man's Bible. I mean, it's for men. It's a great Father's Day gift. A lot of people say he never read the Bible till he got that one. Maybe that would be a great thing. We've got resources at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, including the books we just talked about, and so many other things. You can find that at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. Go to your phone calls. We're glad you're with us here today on New Life Live. It's June. It's summer. I hope you're enjoying it. If not, we'll help you if you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here. We're going to go right to the phones. We're going to talk with good old Rick. And Rick is, he's from Los Angeles area, or Louisiana, I believe it is. KVDP. Hey, Rick, how you doing, buddy? What's going on?
Fine, sir. Not much. The question I have is I was just listening to the show when the woman was talking about her husband. And y'all said that Jesus said it was okay to divorce in the case of adultery. But what I've been reading so far was that it's not okay. And I'm just asking for some clarity on that because I'm dealing with a situation almost similar.
Yeah. You know what I think? I think God hates divorce.
And
I think
everything about it.
Yeah, I think if you look at statistics, two people, even when there's been infidelity, 5 years later, if you don't get a divorce, you're going to be better off if you've stayed together, not because somebody overlooked something and somebody's still sinning, but because you've dealt with it and the problem that was there. But it's better if you. So I think from a godly perspective, God wants us to stay together. He wants us to heal. From a statistical or research perspective, it's also better. But does that mean that if a person, and I'll just ask this of you, okay? So Rick, let's say you were talking to a woman whose husband had an affair, okay? He says,
right.
I'll never do it again. And you find out that not only is he having an affair, but he has 3 other women he's having affairs with. And he doesn't stop having those affairs. You find out about every one of those. He says, I'll never do it again. And you find out there was a 4th person that he was having an affair with even after the first one. Would you say that it's good for them to stay together, or maybe she needs to at least consider this is never, ever going to get better, and I might be enabling evil here if I stay with him and he stays on this path?
Okay. And that, I understand that, yes. That makes kind of sense, yes, because
kind of,
she's
it
sitting
does.
there allowing him to do it,
Right.
even though he's not showing the repentant side that he should,
Right.
as a godly man.
Right. So,
I mean,
our thing is also, if she says, or he thinks there's nothing my wife would ever do except stand by me no matter what, then that kind of gives him a message, I don't have to do anything. And sometimes we'll suggest separation because then now he has to face some reality. Or we'll say, you know what, I think if you finally file for divorce, and then we'll say this, we don't want you to get that divorce, but if you file for divorce, maybe that will wake him up. This is for the person that's still going down that path. And by the way, it's not just men, of course. Women, they don't see the need to change either in certain situations. So I think we're
that's the
with you.
situation I'm dealing with.
Right.
So
Yeah. So what you want to look at is, am I following God's word by enabling evil? Am I trying to do the right thing? Or is there a part of me that is backing away from the hard thing because I don't want to face a certain tough reality here? You know, that's another part of all of this. Make sense? Yeah.
What's your question, Rick?
my question was just on the biblical clarity of it, because I know I had read in Matthew where they had put out that where the disciples had came to Christ, stating, well, or no, it wasn't the disciples, it was the Pharisees and the Sadducees that came to Christ saying, well, what about divorce? In fact, of the infidelity, he's like, well, Moses put that in there because of the hardness of man's heart. And that's what I knew I'd read. And then when I listened to y'all and y'all said what Jesus said, you could for this reason, I was like, okay, so where's that at? I mean, it's just something that, I mean, this is the situation I'm in. So I was just kind of asking for clarity.
Okay. Well, that's in the same passage that you quoted where the Pharisees came to Jesus, and then he adds those words, except for divorce. Divorce except, you can't do divorce except for adultery. And
Right.
And what's interesting is the Greek word there is porneo, which would include adultery with pornography. I think that's my personal viewpoint.
Does that help at all? Because I think we're on the same. We want the same that you do. We want marriages to stay together, but we also don't want to encourage and enable evil things, right?
Okay.
So when
Right.
there's a
And I
continuous
understand that.
when there's a continuous hardness of heart, in other words, and the person isn't willing to turn from their ways, what do you do in that situation? Right? God can always intervene. There can always be a miracle, but sometimes we have to do things to kind of raise the bottom so somebody, so that hopefully they'll hit it. And there may be, an opening in their heart.
We hope
Okay.
so.
I mean, I understand now that y'all say it or put it into those terms. It's like, all right, now that makes sense. Like I
Right.
said, it's just, I was perplexed by the
Course.
comments from the previous segment. So
Right.
and that's the reason I called it.
Right.
Because I was like, well, I've
Yeah.
never done this, but
Not everybody is called to be a Hosea.
right,
In fact, more are not
Yeah.
than are, right?
right.
And yet a lot of people fall into that and don't realize they're enabling evil because of their discomfort, because when you've made the vows and you've kept them, you take them very seriously. And so there is something that I think is hard for most people in that position to consider having to step out of that. And as we've said many times before, the other person has already broken the vows. The marriage covenant has already been destroyed.
Well, even with Hosea, when Hosea goes and redeems Gomer, he brings her back and he says, "You're going to be here. You're not going to have sex with anybody," and including him. There was a period of time implied in that third chapter where there was a cleansing and a healing process for them both before they got back together.
Well, whenever Jesus was asked a question, and by the way, I'm going to send you Every Man's Bible. I think you're going to like that. When Jesus was asked a question, he didn't always tell everything that would be needed in every situation for every person asking that question. A man came to him and said, "What do I need to do to be saved?" And that man, he said, "You need to go sell everything." He didn't say you need to accept me as your Savior, but we know that the man did need to accept Jesus as his Savior. But the thing that was standing in the way of that were all of his material blessings. And when he said that to that one man, he wasn't saying to everybody else needs to go sell everything that they have. And so it's good that you had that question and let us clarify, because we don't always say everything in response to every caller, and sometimes we do need to clarify. So I'm glad you called us and asked about that. But here's an idea for everybody. Let's be faithful to our spouses. And that isn't just don't go commit adultery. Let's be faithful with mind, body, heart, spirit, everything we have. Let's be
Participating in the relationship, right?
Yeah, giving up our feelings of bitterness, resentment, anger, making a new start every day. All those kind of things can really be important to God also. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you need some help, we've got people right there waiting to take your phone call. They want to help you, and they will if you'll call them. Great Father's Day gifts are available right there. And you can find out about Club New Life. We'll have Larry Sonnenberg tell us more about that. But, man, what a great way to support this Ministry. Let's go over here and let's talk with Carol, Sacramento, California. That's where she's calling from. Hi, Carol. Welcome to New Life.
Oh, hi. That was much too fast. Excuse me. Yes, I'm calling. I first of all wanted to personally thank you all for taking my call. And, this is a great ministry that you have, and I really respect your advice.
Thank you.
Would you like me to begin with the question or kind of just a brief background or what?
Well, questions are always great to start with, we think. We like that.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to decide whether my mom and my brother, my mom's 88, living in an independent facility in Canada, and is quite frail and kind of stressed, what can I say? And then my brother, who is in his 60s, has suffered with alcohol, for many number of years. And with what I'd like to tell you about why I'm calling, but to make a long story short, I'm really trying to determine, my mom wants to caretake him and move where he's at some 3 hours away in Canada, and he's getting out of the hospital. He's been in it nearly 6 months, had to have his leg amputated because of frostbite from an alcoholic time that he had. It was about 20-30 below in Canada, and he's sounding very sharp and good right now, but about 5 months ago, he got out of another alcoholic binge, went through the DTs on both of these, and he feels that he's at a point where he can look after my mom, and both of them want to get an apartment together. And they would like me to be able to fly down there from California. My brother's in the hospital out maybe early July, and my mom needs to give notice where she's at and help find a place for them. And I'm really vacillating on if this is a possible recipe for disaster, or if this is the loving thing to do because they're intent on doing it anyway.
Well,
So
how about this?
that's,
How about
question.
one question for your brother? Okay, here it is.
Okay.
Hey, tell me about your recovery program that you're in now that things are so different this time. Let's talk about that recovery program.
Okay, so me talk to my brother about that.
Yeah, what do you
Yeah.
what's different
Like-
here? So do you have a recovery program? And he's going to say to you, he might say, what are you talking about? Well, then you know that you'd be making a mistake to support this in any way possible, and your 88-year-old mother is going to be in big trouble. If he says to
I know.
Okay, if he says to you, well, let me tell you, I have been going to the AA meetings here every single day. I'm working the 4th step now, or the 6th step, or whatever. I've never been able to see my life like this since I got into this 12-step recovery thing. It's becoming such an integral part of my life. I have such hope. See, that would be an indication, hey, this actually might work out.
Yes, it's nothing like that. I already know what he's going to say.
Well, what's he
Okay.
going to
What?
say? What's he going to say?
Well, okay, he went in there in January. He was passed out. He has a room, with a roommate in a house. His roommate's straight, but Ernie would go. Didn't want to say his name, but my brother would go into his room and close the door and drink. And my mother had not heard from him, and she called, and the roommate went in and looked, and he was passed out, delirious or whatever, on the floor. And they rushed him in an ambulance, and he was in there for about a week and a half. And then he went through the DTs there, and then he didn't want to stay in the hospital any longer, so he checked himself out and went back and immediately went on another alcoholic binge, and he left in his car, and we couldn't find him for 3 days, had an all-points bulletin put out on him. They found him the next day, and that's when he had to have his ankle amputated because of frostbite, and since he's been in the hospital since February, and again went through the full-blown DTs. When I talked to him on the phone, about coming down, I told him, Ernie, I'd really like to be able to talk to your physical therapist. He's in physical therapy right now.
Hold on a second. We'll be back.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. We're talking with Carol, and Carol has a brother who is one of the more dedicated alcoholics that we've ever heard about. Even after
He's committed.
a foot amputated, he's still at it. You know, I think I would just say to your mom, you should come live with us, because if you go live with him, he's probably going to use up every dollar you have, and you're going to have to end up living with us anyway. There's just not going to be anything left, because this guy is not stopping the drinking, and Mom, you're not going to help him stop by going and living with him. If I were you, I would go stay with your mom for a little while and take her to some AA meetings or something
Al-Anon
that
meetings.
could wake her up to the way alcoholics are, and then get her into Al-Anon, working that program. But I just
But
think
Steve,
this is
you're
horrible.
addressing one problem. Is, see, they both have a need, right?
Yeah, but-
go ahead.
Here, holler when I can. Well, I should be listening to you
Okay.
guys right
well,
now. But
well, your mom is in a facility, and maybe she doesn't want to be there.
she doesn't want to be living where she's at. She wants to be in Calgary. My question is, if I go there, is maybe tell her that I will help her find a place to live, but not to live with my brother. He won't go. Last time when he got out of the hospital, he didn't go to rehab. He was offered to go to a 30-day rehab. He refused. He said he had to go back to work, and he hadn't been working for several months anyway. And he didn't go to AA. He just went immediately back to that. My mom is a really bad caretaker. I mean, she's a good caretaker, but she just can't. We've offered her to come here to California to live with us. I'd love to have her here. And she qualifies for Medicare, and all that. But she won't come because she can't leave my brother. And
Very
it's
codependent.
really where it's at. So my question is should I refuse to find them a place together, knowing that it's impending doom, or should I say, Mom, I'll come down there, but only to find you a place, and Ernie will need to find his own? I have one more thing I want to say, and then I'll be quiet, because I know I want to listen to you guys a lot too, but it is highly coincidental or providential that this, my brother would not let me talk to a doctor or physical therapist or social worker. He said that he was a big boy and didn't need to be looked at that way. So he was tying my mom's in his hands, to being able to talk to anyone to see how ready he was. Well, the social worker called me this morning. I mean, I was shocked, And she said that Ernie had given her permission to talk to me, but it's only because he thinks I'm coming down there in the middle of June to help him find a place. And I kind of told the social worker that I was having an appointment with a psychologist, you guys, today, and that, let's talk again tomorrow. So she was fine with that. And I also told my mom that, and she has a question for me to ask you, but she doesn't know, of course, that we might be on the radio.
And what's that question?
Her question? Okay, so this is hers, and she's the main. Okay, my mother, I'm just going to quote what I typed out. Okay, my mother says she knows from experience. Okay, my stepdad was an alcoholic. That the recovering alcoholic needs to have someone they can count on when they get out of the hospital. She feels that my brother needs someone he knows, like her, to be there for him at this time, and that she recognizes the need for my brother to be in something like AA. And she said that it took my stepfather, it kept my stepfather sober for 16 months. Just FYI, my stepdad went into the hospital for heart surgery and died of complications. So that's her question, is she wants to help out Ernie however she can, but I'm telling her, Mom, when you're gone, he's got to stand on his own 2 feet. So I know she wants to move, to where he's at in that area, but what should I tell my mom on that?
Well,
you should. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Just being there for him when he gets out of rehab is only half of the story. The other half is what he does, and he's not going to do that because he's shown that already. So somehow there are two things that I'm thinking. One is you got to help your mom protect herself financially, because he can drain her of all her resources. And the second one is, I'm not sure you've got any power in this. You can certainly go there and try to find a place for your mom.
But he'll move into it.
But he'll move into it probably, because that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And that's the way your mom is.
So, since your mom has this plan, this kind of ideal plan that she's going to help him go to AA, which good. At least she's thinking that. I like the idea of getting her say, well, Mom, that's great. So now let's, you go to Al-Anon so that you're prepared for that too. But to get a commitment from him, which he won't keep, but that at least she needs to put the expectations out there. That if we live together, here are the expectations. And kind of help her have a criteria for, how it's going to be. That this is what her expectation is in coming together and joining forces.
Yeah. She did tell him that she won't let him stay there if he starts drinking again, but he has before.
Same song and
she
dance.
Can't leave her son, and but so really, okay. So I know I can't take up the whole time here. I'm sorry for taking up so much.
It's okay.
But I do have a plane booked to fly up there. Should I try to convince my mom?
We'll help you a little bit more right after this.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. We're just finishing up with Carol. And Carol, just a thought here. I would really encourage the social worker to talk with your mother and let her know. I would tell the social worker everything that you know about why you think this is just going to be a horrible situation for your mother, and ask her to encourage the brother to be in recovery and try it for the first time maybe. I would do anything I could to help your mom protect herself legally. These are horrible, horrible situations, and it's probably better for you to be involved with it to minimize the damage rather than not be involved at all. That's my thought. I really feel bad about this, and a lot of people have had to deal with these kind of things.
And I think too, to just kind of bring in the realistic view. Mom, are you prepared to handle the crises when they emerge? Like, ideally, we want him to go to AA. That's great. I hope I'm wrong, but are you prepared for the crises? And I think that if you do have the social worker on board, is this a situation where you might have some ongoing support, and could maybe encourage that? Any fears of elder abuse you want to bring in that might alert the social worker for the need for ongoing support would be good.
Yeah, so many people believe just the right amount of love, and this guy is going to get sober. If getting your foot cut off doesn't do it, love probably isn't going to either. Very sad, very tragic.
That is wild.
Well, I'm going to send her a Life Recovery Bible to give to that brother, and I hope and pray that something would happen there. I was preaching this past on Memorial Day, and a woman came up to me and said, "You saved my son's life." I said, "Really?" And she said, he was in prison, and he saw a Life Recovery Bible, asked for one. They got him a Life Recovery Bible. He was sober in prison for 2 years, got out. He was just named Employee of the Year in the firm where he works.
Wow.
You saved his life.
That's awesome.
Well, I didn't mention, Dave saved his life too, but I should have. So.
No, you can take the credit.
No. I didn't take any credit. I just listened.
Well, God gets the credit.
Yes, that's right.
It was a tearful wonderful
Yes.
moment there. Larry Sonnenberg is in. He causes a lot of tears of joy for a lot of people. And Larry, talk to us about Club New Life, the way people can come alongside and partner with us here.
Yeah, well, Club New Life is just one of the most important things that you can support for us. It is a monthly giving program, $30 a month or more. We've talked about it a lot on radio here. But I can't tell you how important it is. If we can increase, if we can keep building it, the last few months we've had a lot of people join, and it's helping us and we're helping them. But if you can keep it going and we can build that monthly base of support, it means less time coming on radio and seeking your support, because it'll be there every month. One of the things that we have done is we've built a video library. And I want to just mention to you, if you go to our website, there's 3 videos there right now. If you go to the part that says Heard It on the Radio, then one is Principles of Addiction. It's the first part of a series that Chris Williams did, and the one up that we have up is on fear. The other 4 he did were responsibility, holiness, community, and courage. And then we have another video Sherry did on understanding the brain. She did a 9-part series on that, and it's really good. And then Steve, the other one we have is one of yours, Challenges to Intimacy in Marriage. And you did a 6-part series on that, and the first part is up for anybody to see, to get a taste and flavor of what these videos look like. So
they're really spectacular. They're very well done, very concise, very valuable moments spent. And I just go look at them. I think you'll want them. And the only way that you can have access to all of them is being a member of Club New Life.
And that's on top of the thank you gift, the Understanding and Loving series that you did, the Arterburn Wellness series. You know, all 8 books, when you join, we say thank you by sending that to you.
Well, and you send out stuff every other month or so.
Yeah, we keep, you know what, we give too much stuff
I
away.
know. I'm thinking this is like, you guys,
Well, we're very thankful when people support us.
We are, absolutely. I mean, I wish I could just go on and on about all the different things we've recorded. There's like 110 or 12 videos up already. We've got another 20 or 30 in the can. I've got some that Nikki, who produces these, is patiently waiting for me to review so we can get them finally edited. So we've got a lot going. And your support is what makes it happen. It makes all the difference in the world. If you can't join the club, would you make a one-time gift? $5, $10, $50, $100, whatever you can do. It will be deeply appreciated, and it makes a difference. And it means this radio program gets to keep going. And that's what we want to do. We had a letter. I wish I'd have brought it in here. Robbie just gave it to me a little while ago, and it was a lady that said, I knew what to do. You know, I listened to the radio, and your life made all the difference, or your program made all the difference in my life. We don't value, I think, enough or share enough what this radio program does all by itself. And so help us keep it going. Make a gift, support New Life, Club New Life. We'd appreciate it.
Please do. 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you could go to newlife.com. But just come and be part of this ministry. And every time you hear somebody gets well, gets better, you're part of it because you support us. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Thank you, Larry. Let's go back to the phones, and let's talk to Sherry from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. WWNL is the station. Hi, Sherry. How are you?
Hello, everybody. I just absolutely love your show.
Thank
I
you.
listen to it pretty much every day.
Wonderful.
So I just want to tell a little bit about myself.
Okay.
I don't like myself very much, and I pretend to be somebody different around other people because I'm negative. And I'm self-conscious, and I'm a people pleaser. It's very, very difficult to express myself. And it's like I don't know how I feel, so I'm pretending to be somebody different than I am. So my conflict is between being myself, which is negative and angry, and being the way that others want me to be. And because of that, I have an addiction to sex and love, getting attention from men.
Okay. All right.
I'm just wondering how.
So that's how you try to validate yourself.
That's right.
And does it last very long? The validation.
No, it doesn't. It gets really bad, especially because I go out with guys who do not like me very much. or love me. They just want my body. So it's kind of the cycle.
Have you done anything to change?
Yeah, I go to counseling, go to Christian counseling, and I'm involved in different groups. I have a lot of Christian friends, and they're like my family. I have a really great counselor. We do Splankna, and I've been a lot better because it's like I still go out with guys who are not Christian. I do that still, but I haven't given my body away.
Good.
And so that's different. And my counselor says you should be really, thankful or just like happy about that, but I'm just not.
Okay. So is there a specific question for us that we could answer for you?
I just want to know what to do.
Yeah. No, it's a really painful existence that you're describing, to kind of have that false self that you put out to the world. And inside, it's interesting that you only see your true self as everything negative about you. And it sounds like there's a lot of shame that you carry around. And so working in that shame is really important. And that requires exposing your true self to another person and risking that. And being able to take some of those risks, certainly starting out with your therapist and exposing who you really are and allowing yourself to take in how she sees you instead of pushing that away, because you're convinced, I can hear you're convinced of the other. And so, she's wanting you to be happy, but you're not able to take that in. Something inside of you says, yes, but.
It's like I want to be somebody else. Like I don't want to be me. I want to know how to be me. I just don't know how to be me.
Yeah.
I just want to be somebody else all the time.
Yeah. Part of it, Sherry, is what you perceive to be you is so negative, but that's not accurate either.
That's not true.
That's a false impression of yourself. And somehow you have to look at the root of that, where that developed and where that started, and realize that it wasn't true what was told to you when you were growing up, and you need help with that, obviously, with a counselor, and that's what I would suggest your counselor do.
I was sexually abused when I was a child, and
well, that makes sense then.
My father.
When we come back, I'm going to try to make the case you've never been you. See if you like what you could be.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. We're talking with Sherry. So Sherry, you said you were sexually abused as a child. Is that right?
That's right.
When did that start and when did it finish?
I think I was about 6 or 7. It happened just a couple times.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
From a neighbor across the street.
What a horrible thing, And so is a 6-year-old able to healthily integrate that horror into their life and that reality? No. And so rather than be the person God wanted you to be, called you to be, you had to develop a survival mode. You had to find a way to live and get through it and react to it. And you did that. You made it out of there. But, other people, something like that happens, there's a suicide or something later in life, and people, I don't know where that came from, but it came from something horrific early on. So you get lost in all of that. The person you are gets lost. And I just think you hate the person you had to become to survive. And you've never really met the person that God has created you to be. And that person is waiting for you.
Yes.
So we have to help you strip off all of that stuff that prevents you from getting to know you.
Yes.
You are a strong person, a compassionate person. And rather than you doing the things that are respectful, you've had to resort to just getting relief, instant relief from the pain.
Yes, I do.
And rather than you building a whole life of things that make you feel good about yourself, you've just needed to feel good instantly as soon as you can, and you've used men, and men have used you. But that can all be different. You are not locked into that. I have seen some courageous women walk out of years and years of that and become the women that God called them to be. That's what I want for you.
You know, one of the
I
things
would
that
love that.
Yeah.
one of the things that often happens that you may have been doing is you blame yourself for the abuse
Yeah.
because you think somehow. I remember a young woman that said to me, at 5, I danced provocatively in front of my brother, and that caused him to sexually molest me. And I said, you didn't even know what provocative, you couldn't even say the word provocative at that age. And it is always the fault of the abuser. It is never the fault of the abused in childhood. And so I don't know if that's a part of what you've got to deal with, but you've got to somehow rediscover who you really are, because the violation of your boundaries was so traumatic that you defined yourself in a shameful, negative way.
And it's all that follows it, too. It's not just the act. It's then what happens afterwards. How do people react? Does anybody intervene? Does anybody know? And what you tell yourself about it.
How you interpret it.
Yeah, I didn't tell anybody until I was an adult.
Yeah.
So the recovery group you're in, are you dealing with this in the recovery group? Are you talking openly? Do you have people to support you, to help you? Are you working any kind of program related to sexual addiction? What's going on there?
I don't have a group just for that. I just really just have my friends that I talk to mostly. They know, a lot of them know about it. But one friend that just, I was so entrenched in this one guy. It just keeps happening over and over that I get so, like, I can't live without these guys.
Well, you
need
you need to get involved in a sex and love addicts anonymous group. My wife, she does this wonderful group at our church for women just like you. It's called Wholehearted, and really helps them with sexual integrity issues. And you've got to find a Christian group, or you go to the secular group.
Yeah, the
because I'm telling you, they are dealing with tough issues every week. It's more than just friends talking to friends.
Right, and I'm glad you have friends, Sherry. I think that's really important. You need those friends, but then you need the people who understand the issues.
Yeah.
And I have been looking for the sex love addiction specifically, but I can't find one here.
Well, Pittsburgh should have a group.
But I need that info. That would be great.
Okay, so
because this is multifaceted. Your healing needs to be multifaceted. The therapist, you need the group support, you need your friends, you need your church involvement. I would also check out, if you haven't, the book The Wounded Heart by Dan Allender. I don't know if you have that one.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
Okay,
and then I just wanted to tell you that, of course, my dad left, and so I didn't have guys around to teach me about men and stuff and relationships, and so that's another
hard.
thing
So
going on.
Well, the problem, you do stuff to survive, and then it becomes like you make some bad choices, and then the bad choices become some bad habits, and then it just kind of engulfs you. But you're showing that you need more than what you've been doing, and then once you jump out there and do something else, I think you're going to have some great results, because I think you've got a heart for God, and I'm glad you have not given up on that search for all that God wants for you. Hold on,
part
I
of
want
it
to
is
get
to
you some help.
see yourself as God sees you, because
is
he
hard.
sees beyond the painfulness and the reaction to it.
Instead of
That's
the
right.
attention that you did get, which
Yeah.
was through the sexual contact, right? That's the only attention that you have known.
Yeah. All right. So, let me send you a copy of this book, Understanding and Loving a Person with Sexual Addiction. I think that's going to help you understand and love yourself. That's our goal here. So many times we latch onto things to survive, and we survive. We get it done. We get through it. But now it's time to get better and to heal. That's what we want for her. Please pray for her that healing will come. 1-800-NEW-LIFE if you need some help. We want to help you. Now, Every Man's Battle is going to be July the 6th in Atlanta, August the 3rd in Orange County, September the 7th it's in Houston. July 20th is just coming up. Intimacy and Marriage is in Washington, D.C. We want you to come. Restore is November the 9th. You know, Restore would be a great workshop for her because she was a person who was impacted by the sexual addiction of another person, that neighbor that really invaded every part of her life by molesting her and sexually abusing her. There's so much healing that is available. There are books, counselors, workshops, but you have to call us, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. All of it's made possible by people who support the ministry, and we thank you for supporting us. If you haven't, please consider supporting New Life. You call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If all you can do is $30, join Club New Life. You get the 8 books in the Arterburn Wellness series, our gift to you, as well as access to the video library that will help you in ways you never dreamed. But you have to call us. Whether you need help or you want to help us, it's 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Jill. We're going to see you right here next time on New Life Live. God bless you. Glad you're listening. You have a great day today. See you.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.